Hi there, here is Christina from Changing Parenting, and you might have heard many times people telling you you need to force your child. If you don't force your child to do things, then they will never learn, then they will never do things, whatever. Sometimes children really just need to be pushed and to be forced into doing things. That's how they, do it. And this is such wrong advice. Children never need to be forced. There's only one exception when you should force your child to do something, which is when there is imminent danger. If there is imminent danger either to your child or to someone else, like for instance, they, want to be in the middle of the road, there's cars coming, of course you force them out of it, right? Or they are trying to hit their brother, of course you take it out, right? Because you don't want to, again, there's imminent danger. And I'm going to tell you what research says about this. So there is a study that shows that when children are forced to do things, they comply momentarily, but in the long term, as soon as they have a choice, they no longer cooperate. So for instance, you force them to take piano lessons, and as soon as they have their own choice, they will stop doing it because they are not doing it out of intrinsic motivation, but out of external pressure. And true learning requires autonomy. Another study shows that when a child is under stress, is under pressure to do something, their stress levels increase, their amygdala activates, and that blocks access to the prefrontal cortex, which is where children have their reasoning abilities, where they can do problem solving and all that. So this study shows that pressuring children to do something actually hinders learning. The same study also showed that chronic stress from always being pushed and forced into doing things also is linked to a lower ability to self-regulate and to have internal motivation to do things, and it also impacts the brain development. Another study shows that children are much more likely to do what you want when they trust you, when they have a secure connection to you, secure attachment, instead of when they feel pressured through authoritarian parenting. So basically, if you want your child to, it's the same as if you are in the workplace, right? If you have a boss who's respectful to you, who listens to you, who understands your needs, who tries to find compromises, you're much more likely to respect them and do what they say, even maybe without questioning them, than if you have a boss who's very authoritarian and you just do what they say because you want to get fired, but you don't really respect them, you don't really trust them. And as soon as a new job comes along, you will just leave. Several other studies show that authoritarian parenting and control-based parenting is linked to one of two outcomes. So most children who are raised like that will either rebel and have a really hard time, doing what you say in the future, and or that another thing is that they will become very internalized with what's happening. So they will feel like it's their fault and therefore create problems with things like decision making, assertiveness. So they will struggle with these things into adulthood, where they are never really sure if they're doing the right thing. It also leads to people pleasing. So either they rebel and have problems because of that, or they internalize everything and also have problems because of that. These are studies that show that it's linked to that. Other studies show that when children are forced to do things, they are doing the things because of fear, not because they understand why they need to do those things. And that's actually one of the big reasons why forcing children doesn't work long term. This means that as soon as you are not present, as soon as they no longer fear you, as soon as they are able to do what they want to do and make sure you don't find out, that becomes a priority, you not finding out, right? It's not about not doing the behavior, it's about you not finding out so that they don't have any consequences because of that. So it really actually hinders the learning of the moral, the values, the morals that you want to pass along you are not teaching your child that throwing a toy on the floor is bad because it might break the toy, because it might hurt someone, because it might break stuff. You're teaching them that if they do it and you see it, they will be in trouble. So, they might not do it in front of you, but if you're not there and you won't find out, there's no reason for not doing it. Other studies also show that when children are forced to do things, two outcomes are likely. So it's linked to two outcomes. Either they learn that when you want to have power over others, that's how you behave, right? When you want something from others, you need to assert your power over them. You need to force them to do something. And that's why children who are raised with punishment, screaming, even with, a little slap on the wrist, they tend to do the same things to their young siblings or at school with younger kids, right? The bullied becomes the bully. Or another outcome that very often happens is that they start feeling powerless. And this goes into adulthood. So as they grow, they have this feeling of powerlessness, like things happen to me. There's nothing I can do about it. And now that I explained you what studies show, I want to tell you, the fact that you don't force your child to do something, it doesn't mean that you let them do whatever they want. Positive discipline means that you are both kind and firm. It's not permissive parenting. So you still want your child to do things, but you get them to do things because they see why they have to do it, not because you're telling them to do it. Because again, you want them to do it whether you're there or not, right? So I'm going to give you some practical examples. There was this mom I helped that she was really struggling with her daughter. Her daughter was 3 years old and she didn't want to brush her teeth. Of course, she needed to brush her teeth. And every single day, twice a day, there was a big power struggle where a lot of crying because again, the mom was forcing her. So after really decomposing what was happening and getting to know, the whole situation or child's, temper, what was happening when she was forcing the child, all those things, we understood that what was happening there was lack of child-appropriate power, age-appropriate power. So what we did was she went with her daughter to the supermarket. She let her daughter choose a toothbrush, whatever she wanted. And also, she allowed her daughter to decide stuff at home. So this is it's hard here in one video to say everything we did, but simple things like you are able to decide today what we are going to eat for dinner. Or she went to the supermarket, she said, you are the one who's going to choose which fruit we are going to buy. Of course, this doesn't mean that you allow your child to just buy chocolates, right? You give them choices where you are okay with each option, right? So when your child started because the reason she was resisting so much the brushing was because she felt powerless. So as soon as we worked on giving her age-appropriate power and she started feeling like it came from her, right? Another thing we did was a routine chart so that it was not her mother forcing her to brush her teeth. It was part of the routine, right? So she had, there's these little things you can get on Amazon where you put a little V next to everything you do. There are other ones where it's with a little Velcro and it's done. You can also do it with a little light. There's many different things that you can buy or make yourself to make these routine charts. So these are just some examples of ways you need to always find what is causing your child's resistance, right? What is causing your child's resistance? Some children, for instance, they feel like it's like a security thing for them. So they feel safe by doing that thing that you don't want them to do. So you need to find another way to give them that safety. There's a million reasons why children might be having challenging behavior. But as I said, all challenging behavior is just your child showing you that they need the skills. By forcing them, you might get compliance in the short term, but it will be very short term and you will have to increase the power you're having over them. The punishments will have to be, the threats will have to be always bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's not how you want to parent, right? If you need any help, let me know.